welcome to Hearties. This is the after show and the podcast of the fandom where we bring your questions directly to the cast and crew. I'm Marg from San Diego.
I'm Lori from Mobile, Alabama.
And we're back with two of our favorite actors. We just didn't get enough of them earlier in the season, Natasha Burnett and Viv Leacock.
Hi.
Everybody.
Hey.
Thanks for
So
having
much
me.
to talk about. We have
Glad you're
finished season 12. And what a remarkable, it was an interesting season because we were craving more from you guys in the beginning of the season. And like by midway, we're like, okay, where are Canfields? And then, boy, did it come on as mid-season through the end. We really got some gorgeous material for you all to play, some great performances. So
Yes, ask and you shall receive.
yeah we did. And of course last year we had the kids and Minnie really assisting with that estrangement with Joseph's brother and bringing him along. And then this year was really a very interesting dive into Minnie's experience having had a child with a health crisis. So
Yeah.
it was really reverberating, little Jack's illness reverberates through the whole town, but what she's able to bring is really extraordinary. So how did the mix of the stories and the pacing feel to you all? I mean, I know how it felt to us, but it's a big cast and you have to share the screen with a lot of people. How does it feel to you?
I think because we shoot out of order, often when we're doing any big fun scenes, they feel quite detached from, for example, the day we were at the Schwartzman School, or any of the scenes I had with Rosemary or Elizabeth or anything that are quite heavy. They tend not to always be on the same day, or if they are, it might be one thing you do in the morning and then something else is at the other end of the day. So you can compartmentalize your emotions to fit where they need to fit in normally.
Yeah, it's like you said, this is a very big cast, and what's what we're lucky about is that the viewers are interested in everybody. In the cast, they want to know what's happening with everybody. So that definitely kind of is a challenge. But again, I think our writers handle it very well.
But I imagine for you all, it takes a certain discipline, a certain egolessness of the cast. At least that's my impression, to share screen time with a large group of people.
Yeah, actors want to act, right? They want to. You want to do it,
right?
Yeah, of course you do.
And yeah, but at the same time, we do all understand that there's a main story to tell. I always say the strength of a show is how often and how long you can cut away from the main person. And if you can follow, Ned Yost around Hope Valley all day, that tells you they have a strong show. And we have that because we can go off and follow anybody, and the viewers would be just as happy as if we're watching, our top 8 cast. So yeah, it's
I think it's really nice. That's really nice that can be done, because then it allows for the viewers sometimes to follow different stories secondary to Elizabeth and Nathan, and it's nice to have that variety sometimes. It's just and as an actor, it's respecting other people's storylines and respecting that, okay, well, this time we're focusing on, the Canfields and their Schwartzman stuff and how Minnie can assist in what's going on with little Jack, And so in order for you not to have such a bitty show all the time, it does mean that each episode, sometimes you just have to go, I'm part of an ensemble cast. This is a team.
Yeah.
So therefore, I now need to take a back seat. And then next episode or whatever, that might be my moment. But other than that, I need to not so much blend into the background, but I just need to fit in where I'm required and do it with the same enthusiasm as whether it's my scene or I'm in the back of a scene just doing a bit of dancing or something, you know?
Yeah, because sometimes we're just at the back of the scene,
Yeah.
you know, but what makes it easier is that we all get along. The cast, everybody gets
Right.
along. We have a great time when we're just cutting it up together. So that definitely makes it a little easier on days, especially on days where there's all of us. That means there's coverage. That means we're gonna be there for a long time.
Seriously.
Woo,
Right.
right. So thankfully everybody gets along. It's one of the things that makes us enjoy the show so much.
Yeah, but it's great. It's interesting that you brought up Ned Yost because Rothgar, I mean, there were full scenes where he didn't have a line this year where he stole the scene. I mean,
Oh, he does it all the time.
yeah, I mean, it's extraordinary. So there's that opportunity for you to bring your best, even without lines. And then I think one of the neat things that we've experienced talking to the non-speaking actors, the extras, is just creating that milieu and how you're creating something that then gives the actors who are speaking an opportunity to, feel in the moment. And and particularly in these last episodes, that sense of community was all important. But in any case, it's a lot for us to think about. But I think that's what's really special about this show. So
everybody's important on our show.
yes.
Well, and speaking of that community, as you said, little Jack's diagnosis of diabetes affected the entire community. And Joseph and Minnie, you guys are woven through so many of those storylines because there's so many coping mechanisms going on throughout everybody in the town. I mean, you guys are ministering to all of them. Can you talk to us about that, about Joseph and Minnie helping them out?
Yeah, you go ahead, Tash.
I don't know. It was, Minnie had some really beautiful moments in those episodes, and it was, I think, important, and what the writers did so well was ensuring that Minnie's dialogue didn't sound too samey, because when you're ministering a lot of people, and she had a good number of monologues, it can easily fall into the category of, she's kind of saying the same thing. But everything that they had written for Minnie, it came from a different place. She was finding the words from a different part of her life, of a different experience. And so every time she was speaking to someone, I feel like it came from a different place, which allowed me to deliver it differently every time I had something to say. And it was just really nice to be able to be interwoven with so many different things, and some of which did obviously involve Joseph. So it was just nice to really be part of the community separately with individuals, and then see us all together and then be part of that as well.
Yeah. We brought our experience on the matter to help people cope with what was happening. So.
And I have to say, I loved Minnie with Rosemary. Rosemary was just in keep busy mode. I can identify that with that so because that's me. That's me. When something comes up, it's like, I got to keep busy. What can I do? And
Stuff it down.
Yeah.
I loved her telling Rosemary, you got to feel your feelings.
Yes. Yeah. That was, it was actually a really nice start for Minnie in that kind of episode for her, when she's speaking to Rosemary like that. And when she has her other conversation with Rosemary later on. But I really liked that, because I don't have many scenes with Pascal. I very rarely have scenes with her.
True.
And this was a grounded scene. So it was really nice to be able to play that moment with her. And even when we were filming it, it was just finding the uncertainty and the awkwardness that Minnie felt of how do I get her to slow down for a minute and not overstep, but let her know that she can feel and she should be feeling, and that's really important. So it was nice to figure out that balance in the scene with her, and to also play that, because that's what it's like when you're assisting someone with something. You're not always sure how much can you say and how much should you leave, but some of it's so important that you need to find a way to say it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to get into that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Viv.
No, I said, well said.
We're going to get into that.
Clearly enough. It was interesting that she wasn't triggered by it. You know, we saw her being triggered by some things earlier in the season, but you know, she's had a lot of time now since Angela's crisis. I don't remember exactly what the crisis, what she had that caught, you know, that the emergency and then the loss of her sight, you know, presumably almost dying. So, you know, she's been through this, and but she's reached a peaceful place with it so that she could minister to others from that place rather than being triggered by it. So that was really interesting.
Yes, she's come a long way emotionally, and I think it's nice that we're able to finally see that, and see her. I think it was very cathartic for her in the last couple of episodes to revisit moments that she had been through, which often you don't do. You go through something and then you move on to whatever comes next, and that's about it. You have no reason to revisit it. But then when you have to put it into words to help someone else, it reminds you of sometimes how far you've come as well.
Beautiful.
Well, yeah, and you talked about the monologues. Let's talk about that monologue with Rosemary outside the infirmary. Oh my goodness. I've got it down here. I'm going to read it. I'll never do it as well as you, but you said, when Angela got sick, I felt so lost in so much doubt. But that's where you find faith, when it's all you've got. You look at the ground under your feet, not at the top of the mountain. You think about what you know in that moment, that they are alive, that they are strong, and that there is hope. Talk to us about conveying that wisdom. It's beautiful.
You know, I feel like, especially with that monologue, she was talking from and recalling how she managed to get through that moment in her life. And I really love how they wrote all her monologues, because even the one in episode 9 as well, and then the one she has with Elizabeth, they're so relevant in so many ways for so many people, that if everyone cannot relate to every single monologue, they will certainly relate to at least one of them.
Yeah.
And that one with Rosemary is one that is so universal, and you know, it resonated with me, because how many times do you have no idea where to find that faith? And my mum has this obsession, and it used to be an obsession that was so irritating until I realized she would always say, no, you got to have blind faith. And that's exactly what Minnie's talking about in that monologue. And you know, Mum would always tell me a story, and she's like, well, I didn't think this was going to happen, so I just carried on and I just believed. And then out of nowhere, something happened that gave me something. And I think that's what Minnie's trying to convey, that you have to find that blind faith from somewhere when you really have no idea where else to look, because it's at this point you have hit rock bottom and you cannot go any further down. What else can you do but to take one step at a time? And as we all do, we always are looking to the top of the mountain. We always are like, well, that's so far up there, I don't think I can make it. So I just think it's nice that Minnie was able to share that wisdom to resonate for everyone, and not just for Rosemary.
the Canfields are just central to the town's response throughout, rallying to get patients into the experimental treatment so that they can have the clinic in Hope Valley. Um, my dad was a minister, and whenever we would go, whenever we would travel, he always blessed us before travel. And so I loved that that Joseph said a few words before May and Mike set off to go get the insulin. And then we got the blessing of the animals.
That's animals.
Oh my gosh. I mean, so many churches do these services. Talk to us about those scenes, Viv. How did the blessing of the animals? I suspect that there was more that got cut around Hal's disappearance, and so I think, yeah, I think there was some editing there. But talk to us about how the blessing of the animals fits into this story.
Yeah, so it was part of Wagner's, part of Jack's storyline. The Pal storyline was that Pal goes missing, and Bill's like Rosemary. There's no off switch. So he's doing what he does, which is to make sure that everything stays, on track. So Pal's missing, but LJ is not doing well. And of course, Bill's worried. But so it's like, I'm going to deal with that, with Pal missing, and say, I'll deal with that. But once he knows that LJ is kind of doing okay, he then is like, well, I got to make sure that Pal is there when he wakes up. So there was a whole scene where with Jack and I where I see him kind of I asked him if he's coming to church, and he's like, I got a job to do. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, you already helped save LJ. What do you mean? Kind of thing. And he's like, I got to find Pal. And we go into the stable, and there's Pal. And it was supposed to have kind of broken it. Like, he breaks down. Bill breaks down because it's like now he can let go, because he couldn't before. It's just the way he's wired. And it was a really nice moment with Joseph and Bill. But for time, we just kind of cut to. So there was a kind of a really cool moment where Joseph is, kind of blessing the animals, but specifically Pal. And there was going to be like a little thing between Bill and Joseph just because of that moment. But again, it's just something that got cut for time. But Jack did such an amazing job on that day. Like I think the viewers would have loved to have seen that scene, because
all right, Edify, you got to bring that scene to us.
It was and Jack didn't hold back, and it was
He's had a great season.
I gotta see it.
He's had a great season.
Oh yeah.
I'm riveted by him. He's the grump that I just can't get enough of in Hope Valley. So the scene with Kevin was powerful with Nathan. In and of itself, but I just knew, we knew that there was more.
Yeah, you could see it. You could see it.
Yeah.
I hope that Wagner gets to do more comedy, because he's really good at comedy. He's really funny. He's really funny.
Yeah, I know. I think he's brilliant. Comedy.
Quick witted.
So funny. And I love how he tries things, and it's just, he's great. But the first time I'd ever heard of the blessing, my dad was a minister in Jamaica, Queens, and at St. John the Divine, which is a big cathedral in Manhattan, they do the blessing of the animals in the cathedral. Like, I think look it up, people, because it is. I mean, they bring a camel. I mean, it's like,
I got really interested, and as soon as I saw the scene, I was like, what? Hang on, what? Okay,
this is a thing?
So I did my own research, and I was like, oh, okay. It's not any type of service I've ever seen when I've gone to church, but
no, it's not happening. Okay.
It's not. No, I don't see people doing that too much now.
Got it.
We do it at my church, but we do it outside the courtyard.
We do too. Yes.
Yeah,
We
that
do.
would could cause quite a stink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Clean up.
it's the reference to St. Francis. I mean, it's really
Oh.
beautiful.
Yeah, it was connected to the scene a lot, so it would have a little
okay.
more.
Okay, we got.
sense.
We definitely need to see that.
Yeah,
Okay.
you do.
Yeah. So your kids, Viv, I mean, that baseball scene, I can't even imagine the logistics of directing. I think is that Pete. I think it was Peter DeLuise who directed.
That was Deloise. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that must have been a day. That must have been a day. But your kids are really leading the whole ensemble, you know, together with Billy Christus Jr. too. I mean, come on, that was an amazing scene for them.
That's a very cool scene, and you know, I honestly the all the older kids, there was something that happened with the thought for them that like Highland, you know, who plays LJ,
Yeah,
is sick. They it really did impact them,
yeah.
and they all the kids are when all their enthusiasm and what they're doing, what they're saying in those scenes where they're doing it for him, that was for real. The kids really kind of came up on another level. All of our cast, all the kids in the cast, they really came up on another level, and it's such a cool scene.
And then the fun commencement scene and the dancing and the partying. Talk to us about filming that.
Yeah, that was one of those days where
That was one of those days.
Days.
We've talked to the directors, all the directors this season, and it's so interesting to hear how I think that they slate the directors based on what the needs are at that point in the season. And Peter DeLuise is incredibly efficient.
Yes.
And can often get you guys out of there a little earlier.
Yeah.
That's when people are most tired. So
yes.
Yeah, so that was the day, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yes. You
Very big scene.
Yeah, crazy setups, and long days, lots of cast. Bringing Peter DeLuise, he's got you covered. I do have to single out Kristen for the episodes that she directed.
Kristen Lehman, yeah.
Especially like when Erin and Kevin were doing their dancing, that was knocked it out of the park. Knocked it out of the park. That was amazing.
It has been a treat this season. And Mike and May moved in up above the cafe.
Yes,
that meant that Minnie has been witness to a lot of their comic adventures, their plans.
And they're smooching too, and their little kissy face.
Always smooching.
All those newlyweds things. But interrupting their togetherness dinner plans. Well, and then the personalized quilts. That was so special.
Oh, yeah.
And we all cried with you, Natasha. I have to show you this. It's empty.
Oh.
I go through Kleenex like nothing all season.
Oh.
But that was so beautiful.
Yeah, that scene was I mean, there was the when we were filming it, the set itself was very, very quiet because there was a lot of crying. And I realized every time we had to reset and I would turn and look at Johanna or Loretta or whatever to say my line, and I was crying and I could see them trying not to because it just felt like a really real moment. And so there were moments where I had to stop myself from sobbing because I was like, okay, I've got lines to say, don't need my nose running, we need to just get the lines out. But it was a really beautiful scene to film every single time we did it. And, you know, Peter was really good because he knew that, especially with scenes that are that emotional, even if we have to reset for whatever reason, everything has to stay as it is and we reset as quickly as possible so you don't lose that moment that you're in. So I was really happy that it came out really well. It was nice that they all came together and did that for her. I think it was important to see. because she often does go out and give advice to everyone else. And when we saw that journey at the Schwartzman School, it was mainly between herself and Joseph what was going on. But then, as always on the show, the rest of the community are always in everything that's going on. And so they were able to step in and really show their support.
But we're going to keep talking about those emotions, that next to last scene of the season, where Minnie relays how she couldn't have dreamed how Angela would grow and soar, and how she sees that future for LJ, for little Jack. And she calls Elizabeth God's strongest soldier.
Mm-hmm.
It was just beautiful. It was amazing, breathtaking. Tell us about filming that scene.
Well, the filming of it wasn't as breathtaking as the final edit.
Oh, darn.
It was 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Mark and I were about to get
was-
verklempt, and then
Torrential rain.
Yep.
oh
And
no.
Oh
Just-
no.
Terrible gale force winds.
It's
And
like
it
here
was
today.
the last shot of the evening, because the winds were so bad. When they were doing the shots, they did one side first and shot all the scenes for the rest of the evening from that angle. So by the time they turned around to my side, that was the last shot of the night.
Oh my gosh.
And it
Oh.
was, I mean, we had the rain covers,
Mhm.
but it was such bad wind rain. We had to stop every so often because
Too
the
loud.
water was just like all over our faces. I was shocked at how good it looked.
Wow. Seriously, knowing that
You never
now.
know.
Movie magic.
I was just like, wow, you can barely, I mean, I know they do these things in post, but it was the fact that you can barely see it on our faces. You go, well, you can't even see it on our faces. It was, I mean, the scene itself, though, was a very emotional scene.
Very.
But coupled
Yes.
with that and the time of night it was, there was a lot happening in a single moment, which, of course, because of the unfortunate conditions, all had to be ADR'd anyway.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh,
All
Natasha.
That was my best performance, people. I'm gonna ADR.
Oh.
It still knocked it out. It was still.
Yeah. No, I
Y'all had to be
really do.
exhausted.
I'm doubly blown
Yeah.
away now that I know that, because to recreate that in ADR, yeah, how do you find that place again?
Mhm.
I actually, end of last year, I had to do that for another scene in a show called Tracker, where I'd been kidnapped, and like I was crying, and I was just like, I don't know what happened. They were just, and when you're standing in the booth and you're trying to recreate those emotions. So in one sense, it was helpful because I worked out how to find that place again. But because in that particular case, it wasn't a fluid scene where, it was the back and forth. So it was the stopping and the starting of the ADR for me, and just trying to stay in that emotional place where, and there are moments where I was like, no, I want to do that again, because I was kind of losing it because, you're trying to stay there the whole time.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That is the hardest. That's the hardest thing to do, to recreate a performance, and the conditions are not the same. The other actors
Right.
there,
Without your scene
Yeah.
partner
Yeah,
there.
your scene
You're
partner.
doing it by yourself.
You're having
And
to
weird
match
things like
everything.
where you
Wow.
breathe and things
Yeah.
like that, where because you're crying, you have these deep inhalations, and you're just like, oh wait,
Like
that's got to
that's
be in there because you can see it on my face, and then it's all these little bits and pieces that you have to try and piece together. But
Yeah, the writing of it, delivering faith messages in modern TV shows, as you guys are the experts in, is not easy. And these monologues that you had this season, it felt very real. It didn't simplify matters in any way. It was a faith message that was just really complex. And yeah, speak to that, because that's not an easy thing to do, to deliver a message without it sounding fake.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, yes. I mean, I have to give props to the character of Minnie because she has a very good way of delivering things. And to be honest,
Your alter ego has a very good.
yeah, she is
Yeah.
like a full-on alter ego because she just says things in a way that for me to listen to, it's like, oh, she really do that.
Yeah,
You know?
Minnie knows. Minnie knows.
Yeah, she knows. But I mean, really, the way all of those monologues, again, that were written, and like I said before, it is hard to not make them sound samey, and then also not make them sound fake. When in effect, you are almost saying the same thing in a variety of ways, but you need it to land every single time. And so I think every time it was just finding where Minnie was in her journey, which made her share that particular story with that particular character.
So we did a poll of the Hearties at the end of the season, and we asked them what their favorite scenes were from the season. And it was, and even in reflecting since then, many Hearties will say that their favorite scene is when Henry kneels and Joseph prays with him. So I think that has been the sort of favorite faith message scene, but I think this one is going to rival it. I really do think. I haven't seen all the Hearties' reaction to it yet, but I think it was very, very powerful. And just speaking as a mother who's seen her, I mean, I'm going to lose her right now. I mean, who's been through what she's been through, and all the layers of that. And for you to convey reassurance and hope in such a fraught time is just,
Yeah.
it was beautiful. Really, really beautiful.
That's what we're lucky enough to get to do. And
Bravo.
and both Natasha and I agree on this, where it's like, look, to get to be a part of a show like this is a special thing in that there are messages that are being conveyed. We are speaking to the people that are watching. We do know that there are challenging times and trying times. We're aware of it. And if we get to help in that respect, that's all. It's icing on the cake.
Yeah. And I feel like the Canfields, they very much speak to that. Like whenever I read the comments from the Hearties, they always feel like the role of the Canfields is to make sure that everyone's faith stays strong. So it's always beautiful to be able to, especially with the one with Elizabeth, when she says, being about the strongest soldier. And it's just a message that, I mean, it's a question that so many people ask, like, why did I have to deal with this? Why did I have to be burdened with this? Why does it have to be me?
Yeah.
And I love that she was able to say that, because again, with Elizabeth in that scene, I think she was leveling with her from exactly a place of, this is exactly where I was. These were my feelings in this moment. Whereas with Rosemary's scene, I think it was more of, I'm going to look ahead and tell you where I got to once I stopped looking at the top of the mountain and I just focused on where I was going. Whereas with Elizabeth, she really, again, had to bring that down and speak to her on that same level, so she would feel like she's not alone.
Yeah, and Erin was incredible, of course, in that scene too. Just receiving it. It's a wonderful, wonderful storyline. Painful, very painful, and but very painful. What did you guys think when you first read that it was those last 3 episodes?
We had heard about.
Okay, you had. All right.
Yeah, we had heard about where
You knew. Okay.
where stuff was going. But you know.
How it was going to play out, or
we
how we were going to be incorporated.
Yeah, you didn't necessarily know.
No. but reading it and seeing it develop over, because you don't know, I mean, like, we knew that was going to happen, but sometimes you don't know how many episodes they're going to run it over and things like that. But I was just happy to have another scene with Erin. We very rarely have scenes.
True.
It was in season 8 when we were sitting outside the cabin.
Wow.
And I was telling her she doesn't understand quite.
It's been that long. Wow.
It's been a long time. So having that quiet moment with her was really nice, because we spoke about it when we were waiting in the green room for them to change the setups. Like, how do we want to play this? Because, of course, we were going, we don't want to both be just standing there blubbering because, you know, so how do we want to share this? Because we're both feeling similar things that are slightly different. And how can we both convey that? And it was really nice to be able to work with her again.
Yeah,
really special.
That was like I got to work with Kayla this season.
Yeah, let's talk about that scene. I've forgotten.
I never worked with her.
Yeah, that was really sweet too, Viv.
I love that scene, and again, you know, it turns into this thing where we're not acting, because, you know, with everything that's happening with Kayla and her trajectory, you know, we're all so proud of her. We're all, you know, watching her kind of take it to another level. And it's such a cool thing to watch, because again, Kayla is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, ever. She's such a sweetheart. And she's just doing amazing work on the show that she's on, Landman. She's knocking it out. She's
totally
killing it. So it was loaded with that, you know, for me when I was doing with Kayla, that was behind everything that I was saying to her. And that was behind, you know, her emotions about, you know, possibly being away, and that was behind it as well. So we get to do this stuff where we're not acting. You know, it's like they give us the words to say, but we're not. But the emotion behind and how we feel about each other, that's the deal. So that was I just love the simplicity of that scene. It was just super clean. We went in. It's, you know, there's a lot of subtext happening.
Yes.
I love when somebody's saying something, but they're not going straight directly at it. It's, I'm going to say this, and you're going to understand what I'm saying because you know what I'm talking about, you know? And that's what that scene was. I loved it.
Yeah, I like that there were different people who kept trying to get through to Fiona.
Yeah.
Because that's so true to life, you know. I love to think that I can hammer home a message with a friend, but I've learned that it's just the planting of the seed, the planting of the seed, the planting of the seed. So, is there anything else you guys want to say about season 12, about this season that we didn't cover in our previous?
It just in that season 12 was so cool and so good that it led into season 13.
All right, let's go to the 13.
That's the answer.
Let's go.
Let's go.
We can't wait to be back here with you guys again. I love it. I love that thought. I want to see Elias continue to outgrow every costume that Barbara throws his way. And yeah, love it.
He might be as tall as McNally next year. I'm not sure. We'll see.
Wow. Is he the one? Is Chris the one to beat? Is he
yeah, he is Chris taller than Kevin? Actually, I'm not sure. They're around the same height. Those
okay. All right. Okay.
Those two. So yeah, he's taller than those two, then woof.
The repurposing of costumes will
yeah. Like, isn't that the mayor's outfit? Don't worry about it.
All right. I think Cooper can be the mayor.
Hey,
governor.
Hey, governor. I like that.
He could be the, you know, student body president. Yeah.
Oh, politics. I'm already thinking ahead for myself. Come on, son. You could be mayor. Yeah.
Just don't let him grow up too fast because Minnie needs to just have a moment.
No, she
I
needs her
know.
little. She needs
need a minute between
she
the
needs
two.
her cuddly Cooper. He's still cuddly.
Right.
That's the thing that's actually nice about Elias.
Yeah, because we know her gardening skills are terrible. So
yeah, she's a plant killer.
she's not ready.
Oh.
She's not ready for the childless homestead yet.
No, oh man. Whew.
Empty nest. No.
Thank you. I
Empty
couldn't
nest
come up
baby.
with empty
Yeah.
nest. Yeah.
Well, maybe there'll be another Canfield baby. I don't know.
Oh.
Imagine.
Imagine that.
Bombs.
Let's say, start planting that. Start
bombs.
planting that.
Wow.
Yeah.
We just thought it was amazing. Rosemary might get a dog. So
yeah.
yeah. Okay. Well,
I
you
was
know,
a
Mike
late
and
blind
May could
baby
have a
for
little
my parents,
baby.
so
Yeah. Mike, there could be babies everywhere. You never know.
Babies. More babies.
I got a daycare. I can handle it. Well, thank you both so much for joining us. And thank you, Hearties, for joining us on Heart to Hearties again. And you have to tell us what you thought about those closing scenes of season 12. And of course, what you're looking forward to in Lucky 13. We'll keep bringing you, when Calls the Heart content throughout the off season. And it's a good time to catch up on all of our episodes by subscribing to our YouTube channel and all of our podcast channels. So we'll see you next time on Heart to Hearties. Bye-bye.
Bye, Hearties.
Bye.